Hello everybody, got a little bit of a different video for you today. This is going to be the state quarters of the United States from 99 to 08, ranked 50 to 1. Many of us collected these quarters way back and took these out of circulation to put in our books, and these will be ranked based on detail, representation of the state, and overall appearance. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 50 is going to be Maryland. Really, it's just the top of the state capitol building and white oak branches. Not really much here for a state that has a lot that could be put on its quarter. Number 49 is going to be Wisconsin. Pretty much just symbolic representation of the farmland with the cow, the cheese, and the corn stalk. Really, this could represent about 15 different states, so not very unique here. 48 is going to be Alabama here. I don't really know how much a single person represents an entire state, but the braille for Helen Keller is a nice touch. And you also have the white pines on the sides, along with the magnolias. 47 is going to be Iowa. This almost was like a little bit too full of a picture put on a quarter. Though given that there isn't much in Iowa, there really isn't much to put on the quarter. Surprisingly, they left out the corn stalks, which there are many, 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 many of. 46 is going to be Texas. Really not much to it here. Just a simple star and the silhouette of the state in the background. Probably could have been more to this one. 45 is going to be Kansas. You have the buffalo with the nice added touch of the sunflowers on the side for the sunflower state. Overall pretty bland, but effective. 44 is going to be Pennsylvania with the Commonwealth statue, the keystone, and the state outline there. Kind of in some ways feels like a missed opportunity. Feels kind of reminiscent of regular currency. 43 is Hawaii. You have a Hawaiian king pictured on here. Feels like kind of a missed opportunity as well because, with Hawaii you could have had the volcanoes in the quarter or something a little bit more detailed and unique. 42 is going to be Wyoming. Pretty bland, simple, but effective symbolism here with the horse and the rider, and then the state nickname added in. 41 is Mississippi. You have the magnolias blossoming. It's a decent looking quarter, however, it does kind of look like there's too much going on it. 40 is going to be Oklahoma with the scissortail flycatcher flying across the front of it with a few state plants on there. These all fill most of the quarter here. 39 is going to be Idaho. You have a detailed picture of a peregrine falcon here, the state motto, and a silhouette outline of the state there. A simple yet effective quarter. 38 is going to be Michigan. You have a nice outline Great Lakes state with all Great Lakes despite one of them not bordering Michigan on there. Something alluding to the state's participation in the auto industry might have been a good addition to this quarter. Number 37 is the first state quarter issued, and that features Caesar Rodney on horseback to cast a vote for the Declaration of Independence. A simple yet effective quarter, sort of iconic for being the very first one. Number 36 is Florida. This one was a bit of a missed opportunity. You have the space shuttle, the Spanish galleon, and a little bit of the coast on there. A lot of space left on the quarter though. Could have probably added something more like a Florida Panther or maybe the fortress at St. Augustine. 35 I have Ohio, featuring the state's aviation history with the astronaut and the Wright Flyer. This one's decent, however, the exclusive pennant flag of the state and the Buckeye branch might have been good additions to this one. 34 I have Colorado. This features Long's Peak, a famous mountain in the state. Covers most of the quarter. It's fairly simple, but it is a nice bit of artistry. 33, Montana, big sky country, famous state nickname. You have a bison skull, fairly symbolic of the region, and some of the landscape is featured there. Next is Massachusetts, a nod to the state's colonial history. This one is pretty much straight to the point. Next is Georgia with the peach. I don't think you could have picked a better or more appropriate symbol of the state here. Next is North Dakota. You have a typical prairie scene here with buffalo and also badlands or bluffs in the background. Topped off with a nice sunset, they made the most of what is otherwise considered a fairly boring state. 29 is Kentucky, alluding to the city's horse racing heritage. Fairly simple, filling up most of the space without being too much. 28 is Tennessee, fairly simple but gets the point across to both musical genres of Tennessee in the blues and country music. 27, Louisiana, a nod to jazz, the Louisiana Purchase, and the state bird of the pelican. Has a lot going on here, but is a fairly good representation. 26, Indiana, couldn't really pick a better symbol of the state than the IndyCar, and the state and the stars in the background just make it look even better. Next is Illinois. This one's pretty effective in showing you three-pronged areas of the state: farmland, city, and history. Next is North Carolina with the Wright Flyer. Takes up pretty much the whole quarter, fills it well, looks great, and is one of the few things to appear on more than one state quarter, with the Wright Flyer being on Ohio as well. 23, I have Virginia. This one is pretty good, detailed, and well filled on the quarter. However, the Jamestown colony was before Virginia was a state. 22 is Rhode Island, showing a good representation of the ocean state's bridges, bays, and boating culture. A nice full image that represents the state well. Next is Oregon with Crater Lake. Pretty good choice of a location here, unlike anywhere else in the country, though the quarter is a little hard to differentiate from others. Next is Vermont with a classic tradition in the state of collecting tree sap from the trees at the end of the winter to get maple syrup. Couldn't really pick a better activity of the state to show here. Next is Maine with its classic rocky coasts. It's overall a pretty good picture. However, an image of a moose or a lobster might have added some to this quarter. Number 18 is New York State. Pretty obvious choice to have the Statue of Liberty on there, but the additions of the Hudson River and the Erie Canal embedded in the state there are a nice touch. Next is Minnesota, showing the state's fishing culture, along with the addition of a loon on the front, which fills the quarter in well. 16 is West Virginia with the New River Gorge. Probably couldn't pick a better site to choose to put on the state quarter, one of the best tourist attractions to see in the state. 15 is Nevada, artistically a very well done quarter with the wild horses. However, I do believe there should have been some reference to Las Vegas here. 14, you have Missouri with Lewis and Clark at the bottom, along with the most famous landmark in the state in the Gateway Arch. Couldn't have really chosen a better landmark to put on the state quarter. Next is Washington State. You have two things that are well representative of the state in Mount Rainier, the volcano, and a salmon. Next is California with Half Dome from Yosemite on there, along with a conservationist in John Muir, along to top it off, the California condor. The condor and Yosemite both paint a very good picture of the natural beauty of the state. 11 is Arizona with a great representation of the Grand Canyon and the saguaro cactus. However, it does seem like they tried to squeeze a little bit too much on this quarter. Now we are on to the top 10. South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, there was really no way they could ever put anything else on this state's quarter. However, that doesn't mean it makes for a bad state quarter, and it is topped off with the Chinese ring-necked pheasant on the top. Number 9, we have South Carolina. No landmarks here, however, a good combination of the state tree, state bird, and state flower all in one. Number 8, Utah. There were probably a lot of choices of landmarks they could have put on here. However, they opted for one of the most significant historical events to happen there, which was the linking of the Transcontinental Railroad. It's a nice centered picture and a little bit different than the obvious choices that they could have picked with the rock formations in the state. Number 7 is Nebraska. For a state that doesn't really have all that much to see in it, they picked the right landmark here with Chimney Rock, pretty much the most famous natural landmark in the state, and a good nod to the history with the Oregon Trail there. Number 6 is New Jersey with the crossing of the Delaware painting superimposed onto the state quarter. Not original to this quarter, obviously, and in some ways it looks like there was a little bit too much to put on a quarter here. However, it's just a classic picture and a classic quarter, one of the first ones ever released. Number 5 is New Hampshire. I don't think you could have picked a better option for this one with the Old Man of the Mountain. Sadly enough, this came out just a few years before the Old Man of the Mountain collapsed, but the detail of the rock formation on this quarter is second to none. Number 4 is Arkansas. This is a very nice looking quarter with the big diamond in the middle, as Arkansas is one of the only places in the U.S. where diamonds can be found, and overall for a state that doesn't really have one signature tourist destination or symbol, this one came out really well. Number 3 is New Mexico with the indigenous Zia sun symbol. Although this symbol is a little bit overused in state imagery, it still makes for a very good quarter and coin, especially when it is superimposed on a geographical map of the state. Number 2 is Connecticut with the Charter Oak. Though this tree hasn't existed in the state for over 100 years, the level of detail on this quarter and being able to fill almost the entire coin especially when this was the first year of coin releases for this. Just really puts it among the best. And number 1 is the second to last state quarter ever released, and that is Alaska. With a grizzly bear on a salmon run, with a waterfall in the background, it just puts a good finale to the state quarters, and really just illustrates the state's wild and untamed land. Well, if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. What was your favorite quarter? Do you think a quarter on this list should be higher or lower? Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.